Hey guys, I'm back here today, Jackie with the Jackie Lowe Show. It's been a while since my last update. This first trimester has kicked the life out of me, and I feel like I've just been sleeping, work and sleep all the time. That's all I have the energy to do. But I'm here today. I want to talk about a really controversial subject, it seems, and that's the subject of circumcision. And I guess, the circumcision tradition puts you in the position where the fate of the penis awaits your decision. And it's a big decision. Especially now it's become a lot more of a hot button issue and more common not to circumcise, which by all means, if you don't want to circumcise your kid, totally groovy. I support your decision to do that. However, when I find out whether I'm having a boy or girl, which I'm going to find out on Monday, I'm so stoked for that. If that's baby's gonna be a boy, they're getting the clip. I think personally that, call me a traditionalist, but if the man's in the picture at all, if you've got a supportive father especially, that decision really should be for the father. I don't have a penis. I don't really feel like it's totally my right to make that decision when there's a supportive father in the picture. And I wonder what it would be like if the fate of the woman's vagina at birth was up to men. I did a post on social media, and all I was saying was that I don't think it's right to compare male circumcision to female genital mutilation, which I've been noticing a lot of people in the mom groups that I'm in and stuff like that doing. I ended up getting 1,000 or so comments because the post was shared in a group called Bloodstained Men and Friends. And by friends, I think the group is 99% composed of women making decisions about what to do with baby boys' penises. As I would say, almost all the comments that I got were women attacking me. I was literally told that circumcising my son would be comparable to rape, which is just a total disgraceful comparison, as rape is so much deeper and just more than that. I was also called a pervert. I was just called a list of slurs, and I was told that, I was told that it's like rape. Like, really? It's not the same as rape. So that's where people are trying to go with this. They're justifying that it's the same, or even I was told that it's actually worse than female genital mutilation. I really don't understand that one. I ended up doing a little bit more research on it, and it looks like the American Pediatric Association is still recommending circumcision for the most part, although they leave it up to the parents to make that decision. I was told that there's this big chance, a lot of fear-mongering statistics. I was sent a lot of, instead of government websites, I was sent a lot of blogs written by regular people who have, I don't even think, any credentials. I was sent a lot of memes, mocking memes. Almost none of the material that I got was peer-reviewed at all, although I was repeatedly mocked for being unintelligent, and it was assumed that I hadn't done any research on it, which I had. And the truth is that circumcising your son, it decreases their risk of getting penile cancer, which admittedly is rare, but it's nice to try to prevent that. It also protects against HIV, other STDs like syphilis, herpes, HPV. In fact, getting your boy circumcised reduces his risk of contracting HPV by 30 to 40%, which, if you're thinking about, women, one of the reasons why I started this YouTube channel and one of my first videos was talking about having to deal with HPV and how much that's, significantly affected my life with cervical dysplasia. So circumcising your son is almost like looking out for his future female partners, and it also decreases the female's partner's chance of getting bacterial vaginosis, which, if you've ever had, it's just a drag to have that infection. So as far as male infections, it lowers the risk of getting UTIs by up to 90% in the first year of life. So I think that's pretty valuable, as UTIs are quite painful, and I'm sure that young boys don't enjoy that too much, so let's reduce that risk. One of the arguments that I heard repeatedly was that it's trauma for, the baby. Well, they're applying a local anesthetic there, so while there might be some pain going on, I wouldn't say that it's any more traumatic than birth itself. I mean, the baby's coming out of a a small canal. It's pushing just the birth and death itself, all of that. It's a big traumatic mess for everybody. So I don't think that a little circumcision is really doing too much. And for the women that are considering circumcision, I did look into 3 different ways of doing that. There's the plastic bell device that does it, the Gomco clamp, and also the MOGEN, so Mogen clamp. That last one, the Mogen clamp, it's the quickest and least painful way to do it. So if you're interested in circumcising your son, ask the doctor that's going to be performing it which method he uses, and try to go the easier, softer route with that one. So there's that. Another thing that I heard of was all these inflated statistics about the horrifying risks of botched surgeries and all this gnarly stuff. The risk of complication is like 1%, and that complication is just, maybe some bleeding or a little infection. That's it, and that's 1%. 1%. So to me, that doesn't really seem like, the end of the world. And I'm going to go ahead and roll the dice on that one. One of the reasons why I want to do it is because, I don't know about you guys, I mean, almost all the partners I had before I got married were circumcised. I don't really think most women, at least not in the United States, which is where my perspective's coming from. I'm American, and I appreciate people letting me know what they do in Iceland. They also, I think it's like 80% of people in Iceland still believe in literal fairies, though. They actually believe in gnomes. So, go Iceland. I'd love to visit the Blue Lagoon someday, but these people believe in fairies. So here in the United States of America, most women, I would say, are used to a circumcised penis and don't really enjoy performing oral sex on an uncircumcised, male. I don't want to go as far as to say cheese dick, but I'd just say, got to keep that area clean. And, some men aren't, famous for being clean all the time, 24/7. So there's that. Another thing that I found that was the most insulting of all, I mean, the reason why I made the post was, it wasn't even to put down women who decide not to circumcise their kid. Like, do whatever you want. I really don't care. I'm going to do what I want with my son. I don't think I'm breaking his consent either. He's a baby. Babies don't consent to getting their diapers changed, but we kind of gotta do that, right? So babies don't consent to vaccines, but we still have to make the decision to vaccinate or not to vaccinate. We are adults making decisions for children. So it's not the same kind of consent that people, should be referring to when they're talking about rape culture and the culture of sexual consent. Those are very separate issues. I was also told that it's, and so, so I wasn't really dissing people who decide not to circumcise. I was simply saying that it is not the same as female genital mutilation. A whole bunch of the replies that I got when I was being berated and at this point abused by people on social media was because they're saying in some cases that it's actually worse. Female genital mutilation is not as bad as circumcision because the clitoris hood has less nerve endings than the male foreskin. Female genital mutilation is worse than circumcising. I hope you guys realize that. I actually looked into female genital mutilation because people are really minimizing it. I have a really close girlfriend who was living in Egypt for a while. She was married to a gentleman in Egypt, and they have one of the highest rates of female genital mutilation in the world. Yes, it's illegal there now, but it hasn't diminished the practice at all. All that's happened is now it's untrained medical people who are not trained medical professionals are literally holding women down, not as infants, but later in life, like 12, 13. So they're doing these procedures from like infancy to like 15 years old. They're holding them down with no anesthesia like they provide for male circumcision, forcing them to do this and cutting off, part or all of the clitoral hood is the most mild one that they do. So kind of a big deal. So there's 3 different types of female genital mutilation. There's the clitoridectomy, which removes part or all of the clitoris. So brutal. There's the second type, which does that, and then also cuts off sometimes the inner labia and part of the outer lips as well. And then there's the third type that actually narrows the vaginal opening by making a seal and cutting and repositioning the labia. So I don't know about you guys, but that sounds a lot more traumatic to me, especially when the motivation for doing it is to actually subdue the woman, to oppress her, and to keep her like in the kitchen and, I don't know, shell shocked. So the motivation is horrifying, and it's completely different reasoning. So we want to focus on the reasoning behind it, the procedure itself, and then let's focus on the outcome here, which is the outcome is that it can cause constant pain, like just all the time. So you're just sitting there and you're like, oh my God, I'm in so much pain because they cut off my clitoris when I was 12. And if you think about it like that, you know, if they do something like this to an 11 or 12-year-old, I don't know when you ladies started masturbating. I was a real youngin'. So I figured out how to make myself come on my clit, I don't know, by 8 years old. So when you're cutting that part of someone's body off, they're going to know what they're missing. And being that only 25% of women can, you know, orgasm from vaginal intercourse alone, a lot of women are relying on that clit stimulation in order to come. So in some sense, you're actually robbing their ability to come completely. So the excuse of like, oh, well, you know, when you're ruining the sexual desire for men, when you cut off the foreskin, it reduces sexual pleasure. I actually looked into that more. Multiple studies have been done that say that's not true. It doesn't do that. You know, there's no significant difference in sexual desire or pre-ejaculation or how long it takes the man to come. And, you know, with all that said, like, I feel like most guys are trying their best not to come super quick. So if a little bit of sexual pleasure is reduced, all that's doing is stopping the guy from busting in like 2 seconds. Really don't think that's a big deal. Cutting part of the clit off, on the other hand, which literally could stop the woman from being able to orgasm at all, completely different story, and I think that everybody should be able to agree on that. So I am blown away that hundreds, I'm not kidding you guys, it wasn't just 1 or 2 crazy people that said this, hundreds of people at this point are thinking that it's not as big of a deal, and not realizing that just because they outlaw something doesn't mean that they're not still practicing it, and that now it's actually more unsafe. So just like, you know, when they say abortion could become illegal and then it's going to cause back alley abortions that are actually unsafe. So they made the female circumcision illegal, and now back alley female circumcisions are happening that can cause lifetime issues such as, and things. I got some notes here because this was just a lot to memorize, but it's constant pain, painful sex, repeated infections and infertility, bleeding cysts, incontinence, so you know, not being able to control when you urinate, labor issues that actually can lead to death for the mother and unborn baby. I'm not saying it, guys. You know, to each their own. If you don't want to circumcise your child, like I said, that's fine. It's a personal choice. You can do whatever you want. It's going to become a lot more common. I'm sure that we'll start seeing way more uncircumcised penises in porn if you're into that. I'm not about it. I don't support the pornography industry, but I have a feeling a lot more uncircumcised weenies are going to start cropping up. So it's not like your sons are going to feel, you know, alone if they're not clipped. That's not even really my motivation. You know, isn't to make sure that my son looks like everybody else. A lot of it is about safety. I've left it up to, you know, safety as far as reducing cancer and STD risks. I'm letting the decision be for my husband. I'm a firm believer in letting people do what they want as long as it's not harming anybody else. And I feel like it's super wrong to say that I'm being rapey, that I'm robbing my child of consent, that I'm an abuser over this issue. It's insulting, and I don't understand how people are expected to tolerate or put up with that. I'd love to hear back from you guys, hear some of your comments. For those that actually think that circumcision is rape, I'd love to hear any kind of sane, coherent explanation for that, because it doesn't make any sense to me. If you agree with me, please let me know in the comments. Would love to get some support and hear some more feedback. And in about a week, I'll be reporting back to let you guys know if I'm going to be having a boy or girl, and if that boy is going to be clipped. I'll be joining that tribe of the women who circumcise. So, you know, and it's not, and I just want to say on one last note here, it's not a lack of education. Just because someone's making a decision that, you know, that's considered old school now, or a decision that you're not making, doesn't mean that they are not educated about the subject. It might mean that they've reached different conclusions based on the peer-reviewed journals that they've read or the sources that they've gotten. It's also really common, actually, for Jewish people and Muslims to circumcise their children. And with how much we're all really on board with religious tolerance, it seems like a lot of people. Sports Illustrated just did a cover of a woman with a hijab on for Sports Illustrated to really kind of promote religious tolerance. So it seems like Americans are really on board with, promoting women wearing blankets over their whole entire body in the name of religion. You'd think that we could still support the circumcision tradition just in the name of religious tolerance. That's one that I'm kind of 50-50 on, though. Just would love to hear your guys' opinion on that. This has been the Jackie Lowe Show. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I'm over and out today.